So what we're doing now is we're starting a new series that I'm going to call Emailed Encounters. And basically what's going to be is I've been asking online around for stories for true encounters with the paranormal, or like anything from ghosts, Bigfoot, aliens, UFOs, all that stuff. I've been trying to get people to send me stories. Not very many people have. In fact, only one person has. But luckily, she's had a lot of experiences, and she's given me permission to use them. So we're going to read those today. So special thank you to Reddit user Saucy Sweets.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you and your mother for giving us permissions to use these stories. And we think it'll be a good time. So a great way to kick off our new series. Of course, in October.
Just in time for Halloween.
Just in time, yeah. So do you want to read the first one there and give us the title of it as well?
All right. This is called What Big Eyes You Have.
Great title.
It is. So do you just want me to read the email?
Yep, just read it.
Just read it.
Just
All
read
right. All right. Saucy Sweets says, all right, let me start with, I would like to think of myself as a little grounded when it comes to paranormal things. I don't just jump to the conclusion that what went bump under the bed was something unworldly.
That's fair. Fair enough.
Yeah. So I have to say, I have gone over and over in my head with the details of the story I'm about to share, and I can promise you that the conclusion that I came up with is, in fact, that it happened. A little backstory. Where this story takes place in a rural place in the outbanks of North Carolina. It is a place that is one side suburban and other lots of trees.
Sounds like a nice place.
Kind of like Bella Vista.
Yeah.
Wildlife, marshy area, basically a small island, and it is also known to have native origins here. All right. Now, where I lived had no streetlights, nothing lit the streets except the moon and stars. It is rather pretty, really at night, because you are able to see the stars clearly, and of course, if you don't mind battling the mosquitoes, which they are everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty, though.
Yeah, it is. Sounds like a nice place. I've never been anywhere near that place.
Yeah, neither have I.
Hardly out of Arkansas. Anyways, I digress. It was summer, and I was 7, and it was 8 o'clock my bedtime. It was also a school night, so off to bed I went, and of course, got the ritual of brushing my teeth and hair and so on. Now, I remember staring at my large bay window from my bed that only had pink sheer curtains and noted how bright the moon was and how it made the tree shadows seem eerie. But I was used to it, and I went to sleep. Now, time passed. I honestly don't know what time it was, but I found myself slowly waking up in what was maybe the middle of the night with this uneasy feeling, like I just couldn't get comfortable, and that feeling I am being watched. That happens to me all the time.
Really?
Yes. Like, I don't know why, like the shadow people.
Oh God, yeah.
Like if you're laying in bed or something, you look down the dark hallway.
Yeah.
And see
No,
something.
seriously. But I don't wake up with uneasy feelings.
Well, yeah. I didn't understand why I was feeling this at first, and it didn't help that I was a little groggy. I don't know what made me look up from my bed and to the window, but I did, and the why I was feeling that way was frighteningly answered. I saw through my window an imposing figure in only a black silhouette.
Oh God. Ugh.
So, yeah, like I was saying, the shadow.
Yeah, right? God.
It had to be tall as my window, was high up to the wall, broad-shouldered, and glowing eyes. Now no,
thank
I've
you.
never seen that.
No, thank you. Yeah, thank goodness.
Now, the moon was full and bright that night, and so this thing's eyes could have been glowing because of the light and the moon. I mentioned its eyes were red. I thought she was going to say that.
So it's like the lights are like reflecting off the eyes, reflecting
I thought she was
going to
say
red.
that she was, rationalizing with herself that maybe it's just the moon hitting something a certain way, but then now
It doesn't make it any less scary.
Now she says the eyes were red, and I'm like, oh shoot.
Well,
okay, so that's
if she's noticing that the moonlight's reflecting off the eyes, that tells me she's not just imagining it. That means there's something actually there.
There's something there. I also noticed what looked to be pointed ears on its head, but as a child I was frozen in fear and thinking, oh my God, some person is outside staring at me. And also I should scream for my mom, as you should, or leave the room immediately. But it was as if my vocal cords and my brain were a couple who had their first fight and just weren't talking to each other. I like that.
I like that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Good job, Saucy Sweets.
All I could do is grab my covers and pull them up as far as I could over my nose, and only my eyes could be seen. I mean, after all, covers are powerful things for kids.
It's very true.
They save you from
Deflect
the boogeyman, right?
any monsters.
I like this girl. So at this point, as I am a bundle of emotions and trying not to wet myself, another thought comes to mind. My window is maybe a good 10 feet or so off the ground, and this person is standing full form. I can see its waist all the way to the top of its head. Then, as this realization hits, the question, is this a person, was answered. The thing turns its head to show a long snout, sort of like a wolf's, but not quite.
Oh, no. See, at first, when she was describing the red eye reflection and the pointed, what looked like ears, I was like, oh, it's probably an owl, but I don't think owls have snouts.
What is that song? F this, I'm out.
No, sir. Jeez.
That's when my bladder decided to say, I'm out. All yours, buddy.
Understandably.
I won't lie, it took a lot to not wet the bed, even though my bladder was very willing to do so. It felt like an eternity as this thing just stared at me through the window, and the fear I was going to be eaten like Red Riding Hood.
Red Riding Hood?
Red Riding Hood. I suck at reading. Like Red Riding Hood. Finally, my brain and vocal cords seem to make up, and right as I'm about to scream for my mom, the thing backs up and runs off. It didn't make a noise or anything. It's just gone. So it's an a-hole.
Maybe it's like just like a creepy wolf dude. He just likes to stare into people's homes.
Yeah, watch you sleep.
Well, luckily, that's all he did.
Yeah. And then he goes home and
to his wolf wife.
What he does from there.
And his wolf wife's like, where have you been all week? He's like, I was out.
I laid there.
Oh, God. Though I can't imagine waking up to that. It'd be awful.
I laid there in shock thinking that did this happen? Did I just see what I saw? I really need to use the bathroom, but I am not getting up. Like I said, lots of stuff went through my head, and as weird as it was, I didn't call my mom or dad. Fear that they wouldn't believe me. And they probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, I would imagine not, especially being so young.
I didn't sleep well that night, and when I did, it was with the covers over my head. I do not know what I saw, but I thought maybe I dreamed it until I decided the next morning before school, I checked my window, and the grass that my father hadn't weed whacked yet was crushed by something very large and
Oh,
heavy.
God. Jeez.
I was like,
can you imagine just like reassuring yourself?
well,
You're like,
I was just thinking she was going to say that she went out there and realized, oh, it's just a bush, or it's just tall trees,
right.
or it's just, tall something. And
But it turns out something was there. Can you imagine reassuring yourself though? Like, oh, I just dreamed it. Oh, I just saw it. And then you go out there and you're like, oh God, it was real. Can you imagine? Because you're beginning to make yourself feel better.
I would love to hear from anyone who may have similar stories like this.
Me too.
The Arkansas Howler. Huh?
No, it's the Ozark Howler.
Whatever. Whatever.
Episode
3.
Yeah. Episode 3.
No.
Yeah, episode 3.
Yes, it was 3.
Because it was
the Howler, the railroad, the train slayings.
That was episode 4.
Whatever.
That was your favorite episode. Come on, Gary.
I know, I'm sorry. Yes, we would love more stories like this as well.
Absolutely. That's the whole point of this series, actually. So the more stories you send us, the more we get, the more of these series that we could do.
Right. And she goes on to say that she's not quite sure what this thing was, but she knows it was something that she will never forget.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess if you live in like a rural area like she does, maybe it was just an animal, hopefully, but maybe it was something else.
It sounded really tall.
It did sound really tall.
Or maybe Saucy Sweets is just really short.
I think she was comparing it to her window.
Oh, that's true. She's 10 feet. 10 feet, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Saucy Sweets is really short. Saucy Sweets, when you listen to this podcast, you can get back to us and tell us how tall you were. That'd be great. Also, before we move on, really great title for this story. What big eyes you have.
Now I get it.
Yeah, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense.
It just clicked when you said that. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. All right. So
does she come up with that again?
Yeah.
She's witty.
She is witty. I
like you.
Okay, so I am going to be reading Saucy Sweet's other story, one of her many that's on Reddit. So if you guys want to go check out her stories and read them for yourself,
Saucy Sweets remains terrified from a day-to-day basis, I bet.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to read the story titled, What Did I Just See? I was 10 and my sister 3, and being we were in a 2-bedroom home and girls, we shared a room. Now, my sister and I slept on a bunk bed, and my sister had issues sleeping alone. So she always wanted me to sleep with her on the lower bunk. I mean, I guess if you're 10 and 3, you're not taking up that much of the bed anyway, so I guess that makes sense. Now, the bunk beds didn't have side railings, and my mom, not wanting us to fall off the bed, she bought some railings and put them on our beds. So one night, here I am sleeping on the bottom bunk with Sis, who was snuggled close to me, but by the railing, and I am up against the wall. I was sleeping facing the wall, and my sister behind me, and for some odd reason, I felt like I had to turn over and look behind me. When I did, close to the railing, I saw my mom staring at us with a big smile on her lips. I didn't think anything of it. I mean, my mom always checked on me, and especially my little sister at night. So I simply say, "Oh, hey, Mom," then I roll back over to go to sleep. Then not even 1 second from seeing her, I remembered I had to tell my mom something I had forgotten to tell her that I needed for school. So I roll back over, knowing I am going to see my mom there, and nope, she's gone. So I think, oh hey, I'll catch her down the hall. So I get out of bed and head to the door down the hall. Mom's not there. I comically thought, damn, my mom's fast, and she must be in her room, which is right beside mine. So I go into the room, and my mother and father are dead asleep, snoring away. Then it dawns on me, wait, my mom couldn't have been that fast, and already dead asleep like that. The hair stands up on the back of my neck, and I back out of my parents' room and go to my sister, whom, BTW, I'm very protective of, and crawl into bed. Push her to the wall, and I sleep where she was, because in my mind I'm rethinking what just happened. I did not want my sister near the railing. Now, as I go over the image of my mother, or what I thought was my mom, nothing was off. It was my mom, except one thing. That smile of hers was wide, like very wide, as if it started from her right ear and went all the way to her left ear. That's a disturbing image in my head.
I'm trying to think, what was that? That reminds me of a movie, Truth or Dare.
Never seen it yet? No. I have no desire to see that. It looks awful.
Oh, it was decent. It was decent, but like, yeah, whenever when they would be possessed,
Oh yeah.
they would get super wide
Oh geez.
mouths, like a Snapchat filter.
Oh god.
Yeah,
That's spooky.
it is.
Um.
This poor girl. I hope this was like years later, like after the whole wolf incident.
Well, unfortunately, it seems like she does have a bunch of other stories posted on her Reddit. So it sounds like she's been constantly plagued.
poor
But yeah,
child.
yeah, we feel sorry for you, for sure. Now, it was unnatural. You were telling me, and I thought of how fast she disappeared. I looked to my sister, who was sound asleep. I knew that wasn't my mom that I just saw, and my stomach turned. I think for what seemed like an hour, I just stared at the railing, watching in case I was going to see it again. Thankfully, I didn't. I bundled my sister up with her favorite blankets she slept with, and snuggled with her. I put my big blanket over our heads, like you do as a kid to feel safe from what goes bump in the night, and after some time, went back to sleep. So kind of like the thing she did with the wolf thing.
Yeah.
Next morning, I didn't tell my parents anything again. I figured they would just think I dreamed it. I promise you I didn't, and so I kept this to myself for a long time. I didn't tell my mom this story until I was in my late 20s. And apparently she wasn't shocked and had her own stories to tell. I wasn't alone like I had thought I was.
No, I'm curious. Is this in the same house?
I think all
Did
these.
she mention that?
Yeah, all these, because I emailed her and asked her if she thought all these weird happenings was because the area she was in, and she said, yeah, she definitely thought that. So I think all these encounters happen in the same house. I'm glad I don't live there. That's for sure.
Did I just encounter a demon? All right, this is another
Saucy sweet special.
Saucy sweet special.
That sounds actually really delicious.
All right. This is not my experience, but this is one of my mother's many encounters with the paranormal. Before I was born, my mother at the age of 17 lived with her mother in California. My grandmother managed the adult apartment building. This is why my mother could live with her.
The adult apartment building?
Yeah, I was like, I think all
Is there
apartment buildings are
children?
adult. Yeah. Is there a children adult building?
Maybe it's just a typo. If you could give us some clarification on that, Saucy Sweets. We're very curious.
So 2 of the female tenants worked at the local ice cream parlor / restaurant. Side note, this was in the late 70s, early 80s. The restaurant would give out these little cute garters that you hang from your mirror and wear on your leg, etc. That's kind of weird.
I mean, I guess
Like I could see Victoria's Secret or something doing that, but
I mean, I guess everyone needs a gimmick, right?
I guess, yeah.
We need a gimmick. I haven't figured out what it is yet, but we'll find one.
My mom went over to their apartment to get one in her favorite color, lavender, to hang from the rearview mirror in her car. My mom began her walk to the apartment these ladies were at. As she crossed towards their door, she noticed their door was wide open, so she knocked and called out their names. On hearing them call out, "Come in," she went in and found them in the bedroom talking. She stayed for a bit and got the garter she wanted. A few minutes later, she said her goodbyes, and they stayed in their bedroom as she proceeded out of the apartment door. Now that she's talking about an apartment, I'm kind of freaked out here because I don't know what's going to happen. Because we are in an apartment. All right. She walked out the open door and turned to her right to go back down the hallway to her apartment. She took 3 steps, and a male tenant that had been away for a time and that she or her mother had never met yet just knew he was living there with his roommates. And as she turned the corner, she was facing him. No sooner had they made eye contact, she felt herself hit in her solar plex by an invisible force. So powerful, it lifted her up and off the ground, propelling her backward and sideways back into the girl's apartment. Damn. The wind was completely knocked out of her, and she was extremely confused as to what just happened. Like, did he just hit me?
Right?
Did that? It had literally taken her breath away.
Yeah, I bet.
She looked around to see if the girls had seen what happened, but they were still in their room talking. She waited a bit to get her breath and bravely walked out the door, looking cautiously if this person was still in the hall. As would I.
Yeah, for real.
He was gone, and needless to say, she ran to her apartment, still not believing what had just happened to her. Now, a little bit more about this male tenant. My mother, after this incident, happened to
Mention him to me.
She would watch this man swim in the pool like a snake.
What?
His nose would barely be above the water, and his lips and chin down to his toes would be under the water.
What?
This dude is a weirdo.
Oh my God. That's so weird.
His eyes would dart back and forth as he would do a slow breaststroke across the pool. It's kind of, a.k.a. slithering like a snake.
That's weird, to put it lightly.
I would have been, I don't know, if I knew about this guy and I turned the corner and I was face to face with him, I'd turn right back around. He left little to no ripples behind. It creeped her the heck out.
Creeped her the heck out.
Yeah, as it would anybody, I think. So now I ask you, was my mother at 17 thrown by maybe an evil force that this guy created, or was she thrown backwards by something protecting her from a demonic force? Interesting question.
Yeah, that is. It's not a whole lot of details to make a lot of guesses about what happened, but
if the dude is slithering like a snake in the water, swimming like a weirdo,
right?
I'm pretty sure he's Satan, and he kicked
well,
your mother's
just
butt.
because he swims weird doesn't really make him a bad guy. It makes him weird, and possibly.
She said that there's no ripples behind it.
I'm gonna go with that. Maybe. I'm just gonna go out there. Since it's already a weird story, we might as well go out there, right?
He was a pedophile.
No, I was gonna say. Okay, calm down, Elon Musk.
I know.
Totally out of nowhere pedophile accusation. God, Elon's such a tool. Maybe he was a demonic force. Maybe he was an alien. Maybe that's why he swam weird. Because it's like, maybe this is how humans swim,
This is
right?
how humans swim, and he's doing it completely wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense because in other reports of aliens trying to disguise themselves to be humans, they like try to fit in, but obviously don't.
Right.
So it sort of matches up. But I would really like a description of what this man looked like, really. I mean, I guess there wasn't anything off about his appearance, considering it wasn't described.
He was 6 foot tall, 185 pounds, ripped. Looked
Oh,
like he
yeah.
goes to the gym all the time.
Are we going after Prometheus here?
Beautiful flowing hair. I mean, that's how.
Well, actually, there is a supposed race of aliens called the Nordics who do look like that.
I was gonna say, like, almost it's almost over. I mean, I know this is a true encounter in her to her mom, but almost in every story like this, it's always a good-looking man with a great jawline.
What other stories are you talking about? I think you're just making stuff up.
The listeners know what I'm talking about.
Okay. If you know what he's talking about, please email us at snipehuntpodcast@gmail.com or message us on Facebook. And if you don't know what he's talking about, message us anyway. I always like being right. So, but like I said, it's hard to tell what exactly is going on here. She does have some pretty good theories about maybe it was a force that this guy created. Maybe he just, they turned around and bumped to each other in the corner. Maybe it was sort of like a reaction, like whatever this guy is. Maybe it was just like a reaction on his part, like, when someone scares you, maybe that he had some sort of energy built up. And so where she scared him, it kind of like released that energy. You know what I'm saying? Right. Or maybe she was about to bump into the guy, and then like her guardian angel's like, don't bump into that guy. I can see where the guardian angel's coming from.
That guy's a pedophile.
Apparently, he is. He's an alien pedophile.
Why is this so... Nothing that's funny, but
I think...
It's funny.
Okay, well, if we're calling anyone weird a pedophile, then Gary, I have some bad news for you.
I love you.
I know. But yeah, all these encounters are, they're definitely weird. Seems to be a variety of stuff going on. I mean, one happened to her mom, but big thank you to Saucy Sweets for giving us permission to read off the stories. And thank you, Saucy Sweets' mom, for also doing the same thing. And still shout out to them. This episode is definitely brought to you by our patron sponsors. If you'd like to become a patron, you can find us on patreon.com under Snipe Hunt Frightening Folklore. It really helps us out, and the more support we get, the more content we can put out.
And the more we do this, the better we get. And, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Now, if we do an all right job entertaining you now, we just want to get better.
Absolutely.
We entertain you more, and
we're learning as we
content.
go. Yeah. So if you'd like to drop us a rating on iTunes, it doesn't seem like much, but it really helps out the podcast. Even if it's a bad rating, just preferably not if it's a bad rating, but leave us a good 3 stars or so. 5 stars would be preferred. We'll take anything we can get, right? Yeah. But so if you have an encounter of your own, please email us the story at snipehuntpodcast@gmail.com or send us the link to wherever, if you've posted the story previously, like Saucy Sweets did. And I don't think we introduced ourselves. I'm Darren Young, by the way.
I'm Gary Clevenstein.
And this is Snipe Hunt Frightening Folklore. We'll see you on the next episode of Emailed Encounters.